Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Spring 2025 New Jersey Film Festival Filmmaker Q&A series. Today we have a wonderful filmmaker with a terrific film. His name is Robbie C. Williamson, and we're going to be talking about his amazing found footage feature called God's Teeth. And alongside of me is Assistant Director of the New Jersey Film Festival, Morgan Kalmbach. She's going to be here to help ask questions to Robbie. So welcome, you guys. Welcome. Thanks so much for joining us.
Hi, nice to be here.
So I've seen a lot of found footage films, as I just mentioned to you a while ago, from Joseph Cornell's Rose Hobart to Bruce Conner's A Movie and some of his other films, to Craig Baldwin, who's also a master found footage filmmaker. But I must say, yours is like hands down the masterpiece of found footage films. I, I,
Wow,
I don't
thank
think
you.
I've seen a better one. And I have so many questions. I guess I will ask the first couple, and then Morgan, you'll jump in. Are all of the images from your film from the web?
Yeah, I would say 99%. There's probably like 5 seconds of footage that I filmed with my phone.
Very cool. Well, that was
Yeah.
my first question. I mean, the next question is, did the images come first, or was the narration or the script first?
The images came first. So like I made um probably 20 short films with found footage.
Hmm.
And I was performing them live. So I'm a musician as well. So I would play the film live at a club and then on a screen and then do the music live.
Wow.
Um, so I did that for like a couple of years, and I was like, oh man, I got to make a feature film. So the first piece of footage that I found was the ship
Hmm.
at sea with no one on it,
Hmm.
and then instantly the idea for the film, for the whole story, came to me. Like I knew that I wanted it to be about some souls that are trapped on a ship, and they have to tell the story of their life of how they died.
Hmm.
But I didn't know the characters and I didn't know how they died or what they were about. I just started to look for footage.
So the kernel that started the whole thing, the seed for the film was the ship on the ocean with no one on it.
Yeah.
Very cool. Morgan, go ahead. You can ask a question now.
Hi, so great to have you here.
Thank you.
My first question to you is what made you choose like kind of like a more like stoic narrator over just like or like a generated narrator for the audio over like bringing in like someone to like do the voices?
Well, I I first did the text to speech, the Stoic thing, the approach like that first, and then I brought in actors to do the voices, and I did the whole movie with actors.
Hmm.
And I didn't like it as much, so I went back to the text to speech because I found that they're just very impartial and very dry, and I thought I would get more emotion from the actors,
Hmm.
but I actually got less. And they just seem very impartial, like the purgatory where they're at, coming from that perspective, this sort of impartial, no emotion. It just made it more powerful. It made that like purgatory area even more powerful to me. So I just kept it.
So the voices are AI generated or they're
They're
manipulated voices?
not. They're like sort of like first generation text to speech technology. So it's the
Wow.
stuff that comes with your computer like 20 years ago. And then I also tried a version with AI voices, and those were less emotional to me too. I just really like how stoic the old technology is for text to speech.
Very cool. Is the dragon animation also found footage? And
Yes.
how did you weave that into the narrative? I mean, you mix the two found footage pieces that way? Is that how it worked?
Yeah, I mean, I found that the dragon footage is just sort of like found super cheap green screen dragon footage,
Wow.
and I just superimposed it on the underwater stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it
Does
looks
that answer your question? Or?
yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, I thought the image behind me is from your film of the stingrays, which are an important leitmotif, because they kind of keep the souls in their purgatory, I guess. Is that? the idea? They're
Yeah, the stingrays sort of represent some sort of energy that wants to not have these souls sort of come to fruition with their journey. They want to crush them so that their energy gets recycled.
hmm,
The idea is that they come to terms with their story, and then they're released to the
released.
next
Mhm.
level at the end. And the stingrays are trying to make that not happen.
So they're suppressing them.
Yeah, they're suppressing. They want to destroy their souls so they can't evolve.
Very cool. Morgan, go ahead.
This is more like a question about like your overall career, I guess, because you said that you do a lot of found footage. But do you like what struggles do you feel like you come into when you're like trying to find found footage that fits like such like a certain story? Like, did you have any obstacles with this film, with that?
Not really, just because I really let the process of finding the footage tell the story. I never was set on anything until the footage told me what was going to happen. Do you know what I mean?
Hmm. Did you spend time? I mean, how much time did you actually spend? I mean, it looks like it probably was a mammoth undertaking to find everything to make it all
Yeah,
come together.
it was long, like
Hmm.
4.5 years, I would
Wow.
say. But I had a finished version, say 1 year into it,
Hmm.
but I wasn't happy with it. So I kept refining it and refining it and refining it.
Bill, your film has a climate change vibe. It just seems like there's an undercurrent, whether it be, I mean, I haven't even mentioned the four characters. One of them is me. Albert is your
Oh
first
yeah.
one.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, my
Yes,
my father's name is Albert too. That's I
Albert.
named it
Yes.
after.
So
Yeah.
Albert, Boone, Campbell, and Rose,
Yeah.
and so they they all kind of die in. There's a reference, I think, to underwater drowning for Boom, and then there's fire for Campbell's family. I wonder, is that something that's percolating underneath the narrative of your film? Something
Not really. No, it just sort of kind of went that way because that kind of footage is so readily available online and it's so dramatic, the environmental aspect of it. But it
yeah, yeah.
wasn't, there was no intention behind like, oh, this is the future and everyone dies from climate situations. Yeah.
Go ahead, Morgan. I think you got to
Um,
unmute yourself. Yeah.
yeah, I was struggling for a second there. Can you talk about like, I know you said you're a musician, but like, was there anything like specific that you like really like became invested in like between like methods or like was there anything like new that you brought to like with your musician skills? Sorry, worded that weirdly, but
What do you mean, like in terms of how it was scored, or?
yeah,
Yeah.
like was there anything new that you tried for this film or like something that you learned?
Well, yeah, I mean, I scored films for like 20 years in Hollywood, and from like 2000 to 2020.
Hmm.
And so I had the intention of scoring this film for sure. I was like, oh, yeah, that's going to be part of the process for sure, because I did it for the other 20 short films I did.
Right.
But then I found that it was just too much responsibility because, like, I just couldn't do every aspect of it. So I had a friend of mine, Martin Barrel, score it from Denmark. And so, yeah, to answer your question, I realized I didn't want to do it
Hmm.
because it was
But the
just that
score
I
is
did the
quite beautiful.
editing.
The score is
Yeah, the
so
score is
beautiful. It's just wonderful.
yeah, and it's performed by the Royal Danish Orchestra too, which is amazing.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the connections. I wonder if you know Anton Sanko. I mean,
No, I don't.
he was scoring too at around the same time, but I guess ships in the night when you're out in California and in Hollywood.
Yeah.
But yeah, but I mean, I thought the first thing that I thought of when I saw the opening was Rocky Horror Picture Show, which,
Oh
the
wow,
open
why?
because the opening is like the mouth, the close up of the mouth, and it reminds me of the opening of Rocky Horror when Riff Raff or Ritz O'Brien is singing science fiction double feature, and you just see this extreme close up of a pair of lips singing. And
Oh yeah.
and I thought, wow, God's Teeth, that's got some kind of Rocky Horror vibe too. And I wonder where you got that footage from. I know you list every piece of footage that you got at the end, but I
Yeah,
wasn't able to find that one.
yeah, that one is part of the 1% that I filmed. It's my friend's teeth. Yeah,
That's
we
awesome. I
just
mean,
blacked out his face and just went in a dark room and filmed his teeth. He has really
yeah, it's
nice.
just so amazing.
And
Morgan,
yeah,
how,
and he's such a
I'm
great
sorry, go
actor
ahead.
too, and he's such a great actor. His name's Martin as well, and like just his smirk he was doing was just killing me. Yeah, it really worked out well.
Yes, because it seems cynical and sometimes it seems comedic and other times it seems very serious. And I think it underscores the range of emotions that your film is able to generate.
Yeah, it's that's definitely God smiling the whole time watching this
Yeah,
play out.
yeah,
He's,
Deus Ex Machina, a kind of Deus
he
Ex
can't be
Machina. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, and he can't be bothered. He just thinks it's funny whatever happens.
yeah.
And it's God teeth, by the way, not God's teeth.
God
It's
teeth.
God.
Yes, sorry. I
No problem.
recognize my mistake. Morgan,
Yeah.
go right ahead.
I was wondering if you could talk about like the text designs of like
Hmm.
kind of like the thought behind them. They were very interesting, but I just wanted to ask about that.
Yeah, I'm really into text, and I really am into Russian text, real Russian fonts, and I really love Tarkovsky, and it's sort of an ode to Tarkovsky, if I had to be honest. Just like I just love Russian filmmaking, and yeah, that's where it came from.
Very cool. Yes, that was one of my questions. So you get to ask another one.
Yeah.
Oh, me?
Yeah,
Okay.
go, Morgan. I'm sure you have
Um,
one more.
I was wondering, could you talk about like, I know you said that like once you found the footage, like the story kind of told itself, and like we've talked about like other aspects of like the editing process, but was there like a specific obstacle that you found that was like surprising with making like a film like this?
Mm, I think really just how how challenging it is to do something to make a film that's like over an hour. Just because I had with this method, I've only made like 4-minute films, and so just really letting just it was very challenging to how to pace the film and how to like go from one character to the next and make it play out in a feature context. It's just very difficult to have the patience for that.
Did you think about keeping the stories as a block rather than cutting them up, or is that something that it was blocks and then you cut them up?
No, from the get go, I cut them up and knew that I needed to jump from character to character.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So can you tell us about the process? You started with the footage of the abandoned ship on the ocean. What was the next piece of footage that you found that you added to the film?
I think it was the well, I found the footage of the ship and I was immediately was like, oh, this is about four souls that are on a ship in
Hmm.
purgatory and they need to tell their stories of their life, of
Hmm.
how they died. And the next piece of footage I found was the big orange pole that Campbell
Yeah, I
climbs
was
up.
going to ask you about what is that?
It's just a big electrical pole somewhere in the Midwest of America.
Wow.
Um, there's like like I can't remember if it's an airplane beacon or something or a satellite on top. I don't know.
Huh,
But yeah, it was just footage of a guy climbing that to fix the light up on top.
crazy.
And actually, like at the beginning, I was like, oh, I'm going to have to license all of this stuff and talk to all these people. So I sort of like tried to find footage that had like very low view count
Hmm.
on YouTube, just because I knew it would be easier to get that stuff. So I would end up, and I wouldn't get footage that because when you go on YouTube, if you go on About tab, you can find usually the email of the person that uploaded it.
Hmm.
So right away, I was like trying to figure out how I was going to do all this, and I emailed that guy with that had that footage, and he immediately got back to me and said I could use it.
That's
So
awesome because yeah, that was my next question about rights and being able to use this stuff As a filmmaker myself, I use found footage as well, and I go to sites that have royalty-free stuff, and
Yeah,
and then when I see something from National Geographic, I say, "Shit, can I use that?" And probably not, because
yeah,
they're
yeah.
very anal. So you had to go through the list to contact these people to see if they would allow you to use it. That's really cool.
Yeah, I would write them all. And I tried the sites you mentioned too that that have all the stuff to use.
Yeah.
What is it called?
There's Pixel Bay
Just
and Pixel Bay or something like that. And
yeah, but I found that that stuff is just so dry, It's so it lacks like the stuff you're gonna find on YouTube from real people filming, That's where you get the real raw, amazing stuff. And
I
so
found some good stuff, but you're right. It's
yeah,
limited. It has its
yeah, it's
limitations.
limited. It's very set up, It's very like this is a stingray, and whereas the stuff you find on YouTube is like, it's wild because people are not professional filmers, so their camera's all moving, and
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it ends up looking fantastic.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Morgan, I guess we have a few more time for a few more questions.
Yeah, I was actually wondering about the stingray. I know you said like you found like the footage of like the ship and like you kind of knew what you wanted there, but at one point did like what point did like the stingray come into
Yeah.
like place?
I think I just needed I was actually working with my friend Martin, the guy that I filmed his teeth, and he was like you need something that's trying to go against your characters, they need some tension.
Mm.
So yeah, at that point I came up with, okay, the stingrays are going to try to wreck the ship. They're going to try to wreck their mission. They're not going to let them tell their story.
Mm.
And that's how it came up. Just to try to, again, going back to like going from shorts to features. It's like there's so much more to features that you have to think about. You need some other energy there, going against the protagonist.
Definitely. I mean, it's a much more laborious process and the layering that you have to do. But that I just was curious. So you were in Hollywood and you were doing soundtracks. How did you end up in Costa Rica?
I'm just really into surfing, and I had a friend that brought me here, and he had a farm, so I bought part of his farm and built the house just so I could surf every day.
Very cool.
Because,
Yeah,
like, especially with music and this kind of work, like, I have a nice studio here, so I don't really need to be anywhere. I can do all my stuff here and just send it out.
very cool. Tell us a little bit
Yeah.
more about your background. Do you have a filmmaking background? Did you go to school for that, or were you a
No, I
musician
didn't go to
first?
college. Yeah, I was a musician. I was playing a lot of music in Seattle, like in the 90s.
Wow.
And then I moved to LA to score films, and I did that, like I said, for like 20 years.
Hmm.
And I actually made a film before I moved to LA called Dandelion with a friend of mine. It's a feature film.
Hmm.
It ended up winning a lot of awards and was in Sundance in 2002. And so
Wow.
that I made that film. It was a feature film. And after that, I started scoring a lot for years, and then I made this film.
Very cool. I, I I just can't tell our audience enough that this film will suck you in. It'll drive you a little crazy because you have
Yeah,
to get used to the voices and the fonts and the imagery that you see, but it'll take you on a journey, and it'll take you on a journey that will resonate with everyone, since we've all dealt with loss, with tragedy, with situations that are out of your control. And I think this film does a really wonderful job at talking about life and death at the same time in a magical way that transports you like no other film that you'll see. So I
that's
just
so
wanted
cool.
to, yeah, Robbie, it was a find when you send your film. I think you send your film late to us, right?
Yeah, my wife sent it late,
Tell her
and I was
thank you
so
so
surprised to
much.
hear. Yeah, I already have thanked her a bunch.
Yeah, because she really, I mean, we really look for very creative, original films, and yours fits the bill. And the lineup that we have this coming season features a lot of really, really wonderful original stuff that our audience will be very happy to see. And the films are challenging; they're not all like rom-com kind
Yeah.
of stuff that you'll see, which I'm happy that we don't have to show. I'd rather have thinking films that make you think. That's more important to me. So
Yeah, I really appreciate you having my film in the festival. Thank you so
thanks,
much.
Robbie. Let me share a
Yeah.
screen so I can show our audience how they can purchase tickets. So this is our homepage, and normally everything would be here. But as a result of COVID, we had to kind of switch gears very quickly. And I chatted with a bunch of other festival directors that I know, and they said, well, we're going to use Eventive. So we hooked up with Eventive, which is our streaming platform. And I thought, okay, well, we'll be there for a few years and then we'll go back to just in person. But, in person attendance has not returned to what it was pre COVID. And we had all these wonderful people who saved us during that dark time by watching our films from as far away as Japan. We had one lady in Oklahoma City. She watched everything. And I didn't want to cut those folks out because they stayed with us even after we started doing in-person screenings again. So normally everything would be at this website. And by the way, the image in the background is the location where we show the movies. It's Voorhees Hall, which is located at the Rutgers campus in New Brunswick, New Jersey. And so you would have to click on current events on the side, which basically just bounces you down one slide. And when you get to the Spring 2025 New Jersey Film Festival um, placeholder, you absolutely must punch this tickets info link, and that will now open up our festival website, which when you buy a ticket, it's good for the in-person and the online version. And we have a number of people that will watch the film during the day and then come and watch it again on the big screen in the evening. There's not a lot of people that do that, but it's really wonderful because they're true cinephiles. So these 5 buttons are things that you should explore, but you should also scroll down. And if you need to get driving directions, and there's free parking, but you have to register your car and things like that, and who the powers that be are is on the welcome page. But when you click schedule, it's a very vanilla kind of linear um, uh, page that has all of the offerings. Every screening is separated by a red line that has the date and time. And if you scroll down to Friday, February 7th, you can see that we'll be showing God Teeth, as well as a short psychological thriller by Michelle Beck called The Traumatist at 7 o'clock for in person. And the film is available online for 24 hours on that day only, starting at 12 midnight Eastern Standard Time. And once you're done with that, you can click on tickets because now you can buy a ticket. And if you go to God Teeth, which is listed under short as well as narrative feature because it's playing with a short. So you go to narrative feature and you just click the pre-order button and you can purchase tickets that way. It's $15 for both the in-person and online version. And if you go to back to festival site, you click on buy all access pass, it shows you that you can buy all of these film screenings for one low price for $100. It's really a great deal because it's like half off. Go back to the welcome page and you click on film guide and you can see all the films listed. There's those teeth there for Robbie's film, and there's another stingray. And you can check out more information about the film here, and you can also buy tickets from this location. I'm going to stop sharing.
Cool.
Yeah, so the screening itself will take place in our state-of-the-art facility. It's 250 seat theater. I teach an experimental film
Amazing.
class, so they're definitely going to be there because I teach found footage films. And like I said, I think yours is masterful. I'd really like to see all your other films. So if you point me in the right direction, I'd love to check
I'll
them out.
send you a link to them. I think you'd enjoy them.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Cool. I think we're gonna come to the festival, my wife and I.
Oh, wow, that'll be awesome. Well,
Yeah,
we'll talk about that more. We'll let our audience go, but stick around just for a few minutes after.
yeah.
And I just want to say thank you to Morgan, as usual, for always having some good questions. And Robbie, it's wonderful meeting you, and thanks so much for doing this Q&A. I think we lost Robbie. Are you there, Robbie? Let's just stop it.